It always begins the same way, doesn't it? A storm overhead, a suitcase packed half-heartedly, and a woman running from ghosts nobody else can see. Tasha Williams wasn't looking for adventure. She was running from it. Or more precisely, she was running from Calvin, her boyfriend, a man whose love felt like a noose tightening with every passing day. It was late fall in Mississippi, the kind of cold that cut through jackets and seeped into your bones. She pulled into a tired, flickering motel off Route 19, a place so forgotten it didn't even exist on Google Maps. The Sunset Inn. 1 key, 1 bed, 1 night's peace. That was all she asked. She tossed her bag on the threadbare bedspread and collapsed, exhaustion clinging to her like a second skin. The room smelled of mildew and faded memories. On the dresser, dusty and forgotten, sat an old Polaroid camera, thick with years. Curious, she picked it up. A mechanical whir. It still worked. She checked the compartment. Inside, there were 3 photos tucked behind the film pack. She pulled them out, and that's when her knees buckled. The first photo was of a black family, smiling, arms linked, standing in front of the motel, the same motel, but the picture looked decades old. The second photo showed the same family, but their smiles were gone. Their faces were twisted in terror. A shadow loomed behind them. The third photo. Tasha dropped it. Her own face stared back at her, but twisted in horror, tears streaming down her cheeks. It was her, wearing the exact clothes she had on now. Her body froze. Her heart thudded against her ribs like a war drum. "Girl, run," whispered a voice inside her. But Tasha's feet were cemented to the floor. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards, every groan of the wind outside, sounded like a death sentence. She tried to shake it off. Maybe the motel was playing tricks on her. Maybe it was all just old junk. But deep down she knew. She had stepped into something bigger than herself. A web of pain, betrayal, and injustice that went back generations. At 3:13 a.m., the banging started. Not at the door. No, that would be too easy. It came from inside the room. The closet. Tasha grabbed her keys, her purse, and bolted for the door. But as she yanked it open, she froze. Standing there, blocking the exit, was a little girl. Barefoot. Dressed in an old-fashioned white dress stained with something dark. The girl lifted a small hand and pointed behind Tasha. "Help us." Tasha wasn't the type to play the hero. She never had been. Survival was all she knew. But there was something about the girl's eyes, pleading, desperate, that rooted her to the spot. Something had happened here. Something monstrous. The motel, the camera, the photos, they weren't just relics. They were evidence. Evidence of a crime that had been buried like rotten wood under pretty wallpaper. A crime against a black family that had trusted the wrong people, stayed at the wrong place, crossed the wrong lines in a town that smiled to your face and spat on your grave. Tasha realized then, she wasn't the first woman to run to this motel. But she was going to be the last. The deep truth unfolds. By dawn, Tasha had broken into the manager's office. She didn't know how to hack, but she knew how to dig. And what she found chilled her blood. Old records of missing black families. Photos of smiling families turned into newspaper clippings about disappearances. The Sunset Inn was a graveyard. A honey trap. And Calvin, the man she was running from, was not just some abusive boyfriend. His last name matched the owners of this place. Williams. He wasn't her salvation. He was her trap. All this time, she thought she was escaping Calvin. But Calvin had sent her here. Just like the families before. Sent to disappear, forgotten and unmissed by a world that never asked questions when black bodies vanished. Tasha dropped the files and photos onto the floor, breathing hard. Everything she thought she knew was a lie. But there was power in the truth. The life lesson. Pain is inherited. So is resilience. You can't outrun history, but you can face it, and by facing it, you honor the ones who came before. Tasha didn't run anymore. She loaded the camera. She took fresh photos of the evidence. She emailed them to every news station she could find. She uploaded them to social media. She made noise. The world couldn't ignore them anymore. Justice was coming. But exposing the truth wasn't enough. Not for Tasha. She realized there were more sunset inns, more traps, more victims. Tasha made it her mission to find every place like it. Following the clues from the old photos, she tracked down survivors who had escaped these traps decades ago. Each interview brought out heart-wrenching stories of how authorities looked the other way, of how justice was never served. Tasha pieced together a map, a chain of motels all linked to one family dynasty, the Williams family. The roots ran deep, coiled around the throats of small towns like unseen snakes. But she wasn't alone anymore. An underground network of activists and citizen journalists, seeing her story go viral, joined forces with her. Together, they built a case. Tasha was becoming a symbol, a beacon. But fame has a cost. Calvin wasn't hiding anymore. He was hunting. And as Tasha sat in her car, late one night, planning her next move, a message appeared on her windshield written in blood-red letters. "Next time, no camera will save you." The war for justice had begun. As Tasha sped away from the motel, heart hammering in her chest, a figure stepped out of the shadows. Not Calvin. Someone worse. Someone Tasha thought had been dead for 40 years, the man in the original photos, the shadow looming behind that first family. His smile stretched wide. To be continued.